Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We had a power-packed day today, some wonderful sessions and extraordinary speakers. Well, the session that we are going to have now is extremely engaging. Why? I'm going to tell you, but before that, let me call upon stage the esteemed guests that we have today for this session. Maybe please call upon stage Mr. Utpal Borpujari, please. The first one to come, can we have a good round of applause for all of them? Thank you so much. We have Mr. Nila Madhab Panda with us. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Mr. Kapil Bora joins us next, and Paresh Maity, Paresh da. Please come on stage. Thank you so much. Please have a seat. Well, as you all know, Mr. Utpal Borpujari, he's a national award winner. Please have a seat, sir. And a filmmaker and a critic, Mr. Nila Madhab Panda, an eminent filmmaker. We have Kapil Bora, he's an eminent actor, anchor and a theatre personality, and of course Padma Shri, Paresh Maity, and prolific painter and artist. So the one that we are going to discuss now is something which I was telling everybody. It's very engaging. Why? It's relevant today. It was relevant yesterday. It is going to be relevant tomorrow. Why? Because we are going to discuss about artistic aspirations versus commercial concern. Now, this is one thing, sir. If I may begin with you, Utpal da, as I was told that, like in Bengali, we, like say da with the name. So it's okay if I tell you Utpal da.
In
right?
Assam also, same thing.
In Assam also it happens. But before we get into the topic, I just heard that both of you, Mr. Panda, and you, both of you went for an amazing Bengali cuisine lunch today. You had a wonderful lunch today, yeah?
Yeah. Thanks to Madhav actually.
Okay.
He discovered this place.
Yeah.
And while I was coming from the airport, he messaged me, I'm waiting for you at the restaurant. You just drop your luggage and come there.
And you had a wonderful lunch. So did you taste Ilish because it's the rainy season?
Yes,
and
That's all I was looking for. The moment
fact,
I landed here, I was looking for that.
But I was telling him that we might miss the session because after that lunch we need to, have a
relax
siesta.
a bit.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Good food is always good mood at the same time, isn't it?
Don't be rude. Sleep a bit, not relax.
That's great. So, if I may ask you, Utpal, did you get this this formula working? That how do you do it? Is it the creative freedom is important for you, or the commercial side is equally important? Is there a balance that you have maintained till date, or there must be a little more time to attain that? What is your take on it?
Actually, I think Madhav would be in a better position to answer that, or maybe Kapil, because they have the years of experience working in film industry, or maybe Mr. Maity because he has been, painting for years. I have been a critic, and then I switched over to filmmaking in the last 10 years.
Right.
But what I have seen and I have experienced is that I think, first of all, it's your own creative vision that needs to be fulfilled, because only good art is sustainable even commercially.
Right.
Sometimes immediately you might not have the returns, so to say, the returns as in the commercial returns. But we know many famous artists in the past, from Vincent van Gogh to Picasso, even to Ritwik Ghatak. During their lifetime they didn't earn anything, but their work is now earning so much. M.F. Hussain, Akbar Padamsee, their paintings sell for, crores and crores of rupees. 8 crore, 10 crore kind of figures. So I think you have to be true to what you do, creatively.
Absolutely.
Only then it will become, long-term art. Otherwise, if you are looking, cinematically speaking, if you are looking at just the weekend collection, first Friday to Sunday collection, that will keep happening and that will keep dying also. There will be a new one to break the record. But artistically, it will, if you want to sustain after 20 years, 50 years, who will you remember? I think that is more important as a creative person.
Okay. So, my question is to you, Mr. Nila Madhab Panda. So, on one hand, art and craft gives us this freedom to express, to see, to touch, to create an universe. But on the other hand, there is always a clock ticking and reminding us that, creativity also has a value. And value doesn't always indicate money, but if you want to sustain, if you want to do good work, you need a support, economic support. So, is it always a conflict between these two, creativity and commerce? Doesn't go hand in hand?
Look, Imagine a world without dance, music, cinema, painting.
Right.
Human is the probably only creature who expresses, because you have a brain, you have a soul to feel. After the whole day of politics, policy, law and order, what you had is entertainment. But the topic which we are discussing is a little depressing, Why I'm saying depressing? I don't know why after all these ages we still have this debate of, value, aspiration, or commerce.
Right.
Everything is commerce because how does your home runs then for the artist who has been working day and night? All we do is, because it's only cinema which makes money because it's entertainment. But if all these art forms are not there, the world will be a dull place. So after the whole day, you need little entertainment, So like food, cloth, we need entertainment. Any form. But except cinema, there was a time when we said there used to be make art house cinema. It becomes parallel cinema, then world cinema.
Right.
My first film itself, when I made for good 1 year, I was holding the film and there was no taker. They said it's art house cinema. So today, I proved to the fact that that film made 300% profit.
Right.
Almost like a 1.5 crore film made 30 crore. And why it happened? Because, I was lucky that I study a small course in IIM Bangalore, creative entrepreneurship. But nevertheless, I'd become a salesman to sell the film. So more than making the film, importance was how I'm selling. And which is what we
That
do
is
in cinema.
important.
But that's not only the point.
Yeah.
If you see any other form of artist, last time I said in Odisha also, when you do a play, there are a lot of plays happening. When you do a classical dance form, it's all either government funded or some CSR funded. Why we still not self-sustainable? So it's very important, whatever creative expressions we do, there has to be a tag. That should not insult us. There are many people comes and defend that, why are we selling art? I always ask, who pays your bill?
Right.
Somebody has to pay.
Absolutely. And which is why probably, Paresh, if you see that when you are creating something and then, of course, you want it to reach people. It's not that you are creating something, a masterpiece, and, you won't exhibit. So you actually want it to reach more and more people. People should know about it. So there comes the commerce part. It's not always that, okay, I'm making something and the producers are not, paying me properly. In your case, maybe you have done something extraordinary, but you cannot showcase. So there has to be a balance. I mean, both ways. Like the people who are the financiers, they need you and you need them by your side. Right.
See, in the past, I would say that creative inspiration is the ultimate goal, first and foremost. Because if you are thinking that commercial aspiration, then I think you will not be able to create any good art. It has to be, you should be like a child, not thinking of anything, no preconceived ideas and thoughts. That you want to just create a piece of art.
Right.
Means you really worship Saraswati. Then the Lakshmi follows. But you cannot combine the both. As you know, the Lakshmi and Saraswati does not, sit together.
Right.
So it is very important from your love, passion, emotion, deepest emotion, you must just think of creating a good piece of art and artistic inspiration without thinking. But that comes later, and if that comes, that commercial, not aspiration. Commercial, it follows, it is a bonus. And that will support what you are creating, but that comes later on. But if somebody is thinking, yes, it will, I will exhibit there, it will be in that museum, people will appreciate, but then I don't think that any filmmaker or any artist or anybody would be able to make a masterpiece in this world.
Right.
Picasso never thought, Van Gogh never thought, he died without even a penny. To think of today Indian artist, Gaitonde, in his funeral there was no money even.
Right.
Think of his price today. So it is ultimately the fully, not 100%, 1000%, it is the creative inspiration.
Absolutely. The creative
Absolutely.
aspirations comes first, as Paresh is mentioning before us. I would like to know your view, sir, Mr. Kapil Bora, that, there was this time when 100 crore was like quite a big deal for us. And then came 300 crore, 500 crore, now it's 1,000 crore films. So on one hand, this is this league of 1,000 crore. And on other hand, there are independent filmmakers like Madhav Da or Utpal Da and many others in Bengal also. As we all know that Satyajit Ray, when he was making Pather Panchali, it actually took 2.5 years for him to make the film, and that too, draining all his investments or whatever he had, and even borrow money from relatives. So it was always a struggle. But in today's world, do you feel that it's quite an opposite picture? On one way, it's 1,000 crore, and other way, people are struggling to get a financier and to exhibit the film.
Well, that's the glaring example you'll find in Assam. Let me speak in the context of the Assamese
Yes,
film
please.
industry, because that is where I'm familiar with. So this conflict, this issue of creativity versus commerce has been since time immemorial. The artists always wondered that this is something I'm passionate about. How do I show it? How do I present it to the world so that it becomes, something which attracts people to the theaters? But since 1935 is the year when Assamese film started with Jyoti Prasad Agarwala's Joymoti, and since then, I'm going to take a few names, people like Pani Sharma, Harbeshwar Chakravorty, Dr. Bhavendranath Hoikia, Jahanu Bora, Brajen Bora, Podum Borua, Bidut Chakravorty, Sanjeev Hazarika, Dr. Hantona Bordloi, Manju Bora. All these are great big names of Assamese cinema, and they have made films in Assam just because they were passionate about cinema, just because they wanted to tell the stories which they felt should be seen by the people in the whole world. And they made films which also they made a mark in the international arena as well. So what was the reason behind these people making those films? It was not just the commerce. It was that urge, that innate feeling of creativity which was there within them, which forced them to make these films. And there have been instances where, filmmakers have mortgaged the jewelry of their wives and mortgaged property to make films, to finance their films. There was this one great filmmaker called Podum Borua who made a wonderful film called Gonga Silonir Paki way back in the 70s, even long time back. And he just made one film, Utpal knows. It's a wonderful film. It's available on YouTube. And it did make a mark for itself in the international arena as well. But he never got the chance or the opportunity to make another film in his lifetime. And he died, he passed away without making another film. And that film is still very timeless and a wonderful film to watch and, experience. So I think in Assam particularly, what has really motivated filmmakers and people of cinema is their undying passion and need for creative satisfaction. But yes, now young filmmakers are coming around, and they also understand the commerce part of it, and so they're thinking of ways to, take their films to the new generation so that they come to the theaters, So those things are also happening. I think we have to somehow strike a balance, not for the need to make money out of the films, but for the need to make more films out of the film we make. So that one film we make makes a profit so that we can move on to another project.
Exactly.
Not just to make money out of it, but just to make more films out of one film that you make.
That's a wonderful way of saying, yes, Madhav Da.
Can I add on to
Yeah,
something
please.
what Paresh Da
Yeah.
said is, with creativity for any artist, without say the person comes with that, there is no second thought on that. Nobody ever thinks that whether this will sell or not. I mean, in cinema we're lucky today that we have so many platforms like Netflix, Amazon, whoever. But when you have a story or idea or a pitch, it's not about that money, but you have that kind of conviction, which is why they pay you money.
Right.
So that's your creativity. Whereas in other form, whereas painting or classical dance or a sculpture, we still not ready to have that kind of a support system to these artists, like artist residency or see what UK does, From lottery money, they put all the support to all kind of artists. And they consider this as a creative economy. So if you see India, if you start calculating and creating that, we have a huge creative economy out here, beyond cinemas.
Okay, so do you feel, Utpal, that gone are those days of, like the Kapoors and Khans and, Kumars, do you feel that it is more, like Ayushmann Khurranas or Rajkumar Rao's, which is relevant today? Do you feel that gone are those, larger than life image? Though I know there has been, Triple R, there has been Pushpa in our film industry. But for a longer time, Indian cinema was only been understood as Bollywood, Hindi movies. But now, yes, the South Indian films are doing so well. But are we doing well, whether it's Bengali film, whether it is Oriya film, whether it's Assamese film? Are we doing that well? No. So, do you feel that, okay, now it should shift from Hindi films and the other film industries should come up and actually, we can actually get together and shoulder the Indian cinema's future?
Yeah, see, I think all kinds of cinemas would coexist. I mean, like you said, the Bollywood, I don't agree with the term Bollywood because it's, but
Hindi,
it's Hindi cinema.
Huh.
But I think they will all coexist. Like now, suddenly we have the Southern cinema, like we say, Kannada cinema, KGF, Telugu cinema, Pushpa, RRR, Bahubali 1 and 2. They are the biggest of the lot now.
Absolutely.
I mean, they are even bigger, much bigger than what so-called Bollywood is.
True.
So that is where I think the so-called regional cinema, again, regional is a derogatory term because we are all Indian cinemas in various languages. Mm-hmm. So I think there is a huge potential for every language. Only thing is that we have to find out how to market it. Like Madhav was saying, that there has to be in cinema especially because cinema involves a huge investment, unlike, painting or a poet where one individual can create a piece of art at the seclusion of his or her home. Mm-hmm. But cinema involves a huge number of people, technology, lot of manpower.
Right.
So you need to recover that investment. And for that, I think all kinds of cinemas, I'll give you the example. One extreme is, of course, this RRR or Pushpa, Bahubali kind of films. Other extreme is an Assamese film called Village Rockstars, which was India's entry into Oscars. It was made for just about 10 lakh rupees. And Rima Das, the director, she produced it, she directed it, she was the cinematographer, she was the editor, everything. And she shot in a village. And nobody expected it to do any commerce, beyond the festival circuit. But when it was released, it did a business of more than 1 crore rupees in Assam. It was totally unexpected for that kind of film.
Absolutely.
Then we have recent filmmakers like Bhaskar Hazarika who made Katha Nodi, where Kapil plays one of the pivotal roles. Mm-hmm. Katha Nodi was a big hit. It also did very well. It won the national award, went to many festivals. Then Amis, which is streaming on Sony Live, which is another, which caught the attention because of its extreme nature of its subject, but it also did well. In each language, there are films which are doing very well.
Absolutely.
And especially during the last 2 years, during the pandemic, when we were all inside our homes, the OTT platforms actually exposed the general audience to all kinds of cinema. Earlier, those kind of films were only restricted to, people who would visit festivals.
Right.
But now you can watch everything sitting at home, whether it's Malayalam cinema, Marathi, Bengali, or any film. So the audience has evolved actually, I would say, immensely evolved.
This is very important.
So that is where the whole potential of, marketing of films has also, expanded, I would say. But having said that, I think there is still a problem area as far as the OTTs go or the acceptance of films made in so-called smaller languages, smaller as in the number of people speaking them, because some of the OTTs do not take films which are made in those smaller, so-called smaller languages, and OTTs which take those films, they don't promote them. So unless you individually know that this film exists in this particular platform, that film would never show up on your, on your to-watch film.
Right.
So that film suffers. Finally, it's for the namesake, it's on a big platform, but nobody knows about it. So there, again, that so-called algorithm that works on the OTT platforms has, I think, has to evolve further.
There should be promotions also.
Yeah, promotions, yeah.
For that kind of films.
Yeah, okay. I think so. So that's one important aspect. And also, since I also make documentary films, I would like to mention one particular film which I made. It's called Memories of a Forgotten War. It's produced by Mr. Subimal Bhattacharjee, who is sitting there. we filmed, we shot the film in Northeast India, in Delhi, in Japan, in UK. It was on the survivors of Second World War, the battles which were fought in, in Manipur and Nagaland. So we actually met the war veterans from both the countries, as well as people who had witnessed those battles in Manipur and Nagaland, in the interiors, most interior of the villages. That film we have, I strongly believe it's on one smaller platform, but I think that film has got, like when you talk about commercial potential, it has got potential for next 50 years because it's an academic kind of film and there is a huge amount of interest for Second World War. If you go anywhere else, Second World War is a huge point of interest. And since I am sitting in Kolkata, I must say this, that we were lucky enough to actually shoot inside Rankoji temple where Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's ashes, purported ashes are supposed to be enshrined there. No, not even still photography is allowed inside.
But you shot there?
We shot inside. We were so lucky. I don't know why they permitted us. We just went to the temple. We made a request. They had a long meeting for about 2 hours, speaking in Japanese, the whole temple committee. And we were, like Subimal and I were sitting and yawning and, we didn't understand what, a single word what they say.
You have been the luckiest, probably.
Yeah, okay, you shoot. And we have visuals which are like, really unprecedented.
Goosebumps.
Yeah. So I think that kind of film also has got huge commercial potential if it gets the platform,
Right. So there comes my next question to both of you actually, Paresh and Kapil. So in today's world, since social media is so important and so powerful, and everyday life we are actually scrolling up and down, we hardly have some time to see whatever content is there. If it is a picture, okay, maybe we actually stop for a while. If it's something written, we give it a damn. So do you feel that the shock value factor, is there an importance of shock value in art and creativity to grab attention, to at least make people understand, okay, this is it, stay for a while, understand, and then scroll down? Do you feel, Paresh, that a shock value is important in today's art and creativity?
Shock value, I think it is not very important.
Okay.
See, I will tell you, if you go back to the Renaissance, pre-Renaissance, high Renaissance, Baroque, Rococo, that time, you see the painting of, war. You see painting of many, like volcano, many incident, which you call it negative incident. You see them in many museums in the world. But after seeing this bloody scene, you feel, oh my goodness, what they have created. It's amazing. You want to see that painting or sculpture again and again.
Right.
Remember, art is ultimately a rasa.
Right.
If the shock value overcomes that and goes to the bhivatsa rasa, or Bhayanak rasa.
Right.
That means the shock value really overcome and it gone beyond that and created the rasa. Just only shock value, just giving a shock and trying to impose that this is contemporary art, that is temporary art.
Right.
Remember, it will not sustain, it will never, see something is happening, some incident or some art or installation you have seen. They say, oh, I don't want to see that. Nobody. See, art or film or writing or any form, it is ultimately the communication. If you are not wanting to see that, then how can you communicate your art or your film?
Right.
Will succeed creating that shock value. So it will be completely temporary.
Okay.
You will not again and again, forget about again and again. Second time you will not even say, I don't want to see it, I don't want to have it. Then you are failure.
Okay.
It is a very, very temporary, notion and a concept. The people are having wrong ideas. And as I said, that vivatsa rasa, because the shock value can be also very important, can be very beautiful.
Absolutely. So, Kapil, I'm just going to add that, in few film, we see wonderful trailer. But finally, when we go to see the film, we are disappointed. I mean, that exactly Paresh was mentioning, that shock value is not good. Do you feel so? I mean, or...
I don't understand the importance of shock value.
Yeah.
As far as Assamese films are concerned, it is not very important.
Okay.
Shock value is not very important. What is important for us is good content, good cinema, good stories told in an engaging manner. Yeah. There have been a few films in the last few years where there have been a shock value. For instance, the film I did, Bhaskar Hazarika's Kotha Nodi, which is again based upon fables, actually, folk tales. About there were 4 stories which had terrific shock value. It's about I play a man who buries his newborn children because his father's friend had told him once that whenever a child is born to him, he goes and meets his uncle, and the uncle says that go and bury this child. It might be a girl child, it might be a male child. So he goes and buries without questioning. And there's this woman played by Sima Bishwas who, gets her daughter married off to a serpent because she believes the serpent will become a Prince Charming and will give her jewels. So these were stories, these are age-old stories. And, there was a lot of criticism that why did you portray these stories in such a ghastly, horror manner? And then in a press conference, I answered on behalf of Bhaskar, the director. I said that, see, these stories were told by our grandparents, and they, it was always, they said with a lot of love and affection, so we were not scared. But now, these stories were on screen, and those had a horror effect. So those had shock value. But when it comes to Assamese cinema, I feel, and I experienced this over the last 22 years, that it is only good content and convincing cinema and entertaining cinema which clicks with the audience in Assam.
Absolutely. So we can actually talk a lot on this because this is very favorite subjects for all of us probably. But we have to end this session. We have another very entertaining session coming up, which actually Utpal was mentioning that yes, OTT has broke this language and geographical barriers. We are going to have a wonderful chat with Arindam Sel, Raima Sen and Pauli. But before we thank gentlemen here, last question, maybe just a one-liner from Utpal and Madhubda. So, if there is a ratio of creativity and commerce in your mind when you're doing a film, doing a project, writing a story, what is the ratio? Is it 80-20, 90-10, 60-40? What else goes on?
As far as I am concerned, as a creative person, it's 100% creativity, and I'd leave the commerce part to the producer, the financier, because that's where their expertise lies.
Yeah. Okay, so 100% for
Well, it's
and whatever.
purely storytelling, so it's 100%. There's no 80-20. Rest, always marketing is a separate issue altogether.
Absolutely.
Can't.
So 100% of creativity and creative aspirations, and of course the commerce part remains. And let's see that in coming days how the scenario is going to change, or we are going to change. We are going to evolve. Thank you so very much, all of you, for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It was a wonderful, wonderful session. Thank you so much. A big round of applause.
Thank you
for
to
all
our
of them.
speakers.